very much. Next week's budget will be important. It is focused on providing cost of living support whilst making sure that we continue to see a moderation in inflation as well as our Future Made in Australia agenda. That's about dealing with the urgent necessities of cost of living support and that downward pressure on inflation, whilst also having an eye to the future. Where does economic growth come from? And this morning I've given a speech here in Perth outlining my view that Western Australia is front and centre when it comes to our future agenda for economic growth, that there is no state better positioned to take advantage of the transition that's occurring in the global economy than this great state of Western Australia. And part of that is, of course, our trade. Today's announcement of a 50-50 funding split between the Commonwealth and the WA government to make sure that the planning of all the infrastructure that will be required for Westport to go ahead, when it's road, rail, other infrastructure, to make sure we're ready to go, is an important announcement. This is a project that's been spoken about for a long period of time, but it's a project that the Labor government here, in conjunction with my federal Labor government, is determined to turn into a reality, with benefit for Western Australia's regions, with benefit for job creation here, both in the construction phase when it goes ahead, but also in the longer term by positioning Western Australia to be able to continue to be such an important export destination that produces income for this great state of WA and indeed income for the nation. In addition to that, today I've announced $566 million to map the whole of Australia, to map what is under the soil and under the seabeds. No state will benefit from that more than Western Australia again. We'll provide this funding for Geoscience Australia in next week's budget. That's the funding over 10 years. This is a long-term project that we need to start on now. It's rather extraordinary that we haven't had this planning done, which can provide important information for businesses and communities about where critical minerals are, about what is under our earth and our waters, to make sure that we can get that right. We can make sure that we can take advantage of that in the future as we plan for extraction of those minerals and resources, and so that we can have better environmental protection as well as we go forward. The third announcement that we have today that will be of benefit to Western Australia follows the last time I was here in Perth with the Premier turning the sod and looking at construction of new housing projects here. One of the issues that the whole nation is suffering from is a shortage of skilled workers. The budget on Tuesday night will add $90 million for an extension of our fee-free TAFE program aimed at construction workers, providing incentives for people to go into these industries. This is something that I have witnessed firsthand at TAFEs here in WA have benefited from. In addition to that, we'll have a program of targeted migration as well, so that we get skilled workers here in areas of need. This is a part of our achieving of an increase in housing flow, because we know that the key to dealing with that issue is housing supply. Next Tuesday's budget, we've worked on a range of other items with the Western Australian government that you'll see next Tuesday, not the least of which is investment in infrastructure here. We have a close working relationship, and it's very important that the Commonwealth and state and territory governments work in unison in order to achieve our common objectives. The great state of Western Australia is so important for our national economy, and that's why today I tick off a commitment that I made of 10 visits here every year as Prime Minister. This is my 20th visit here in under 2 years as Prime Minister. I continue to engage with Western Australia, and I thank Premier Cook for the very close relationship that we've been able to develop in the interests of the state of Western Australia, but also in the national interest. We'll hear from the Premier, then from our Infrastructure Minister, then the Deputy Premier and Treasurer, and then we'll take questions.